Let me say welcome. We'll be starting the webinar in a couple of minutes. Glad you're here. All right, I think we'll get started. Welcome. I'm David Kellogg, Chairman of SCORE Westchester, and welcome to our webinar on leveraging LinkedIn to gain leads. This is obviously a critical topic for all businesses. We will be learning from Maggie Carey, CEO of Master It Media. She is truly brilliant. You couldn't ask for a better guide to maximizing your use of LinkedIn. But first, I want to say a couple of words about SCORE. SCORE Westchester supports local entrepreneurs through free confidential mentoring and educational programs like this. Our clients are startups and established businesses. Our volunteer business mentors draw on wide-ranging industry experience with an incredible array of expertise. This is, again, free and confidential. Reach us online at westchester.score.org. And now for some housekeeping. Everyone will be muted during the presentation. As we proceed, please submit your questions and comments using the Q&A button, not the chat button. And we will leave time at the end of the webinar to answer those questions. Also, there will be a link to the recording that will be sent to everyone afterward. It is now my pleasure to introduce the amazing Maggie Carey, CEO of Master It Media. She draws on her corporate experience and her theater background to build large, committed, as she says, raving social media audiences for her clients. We will all learn a lot. Maggie, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate that warm introduction. And I have to just share a little bit about SCORE for a moment. I had multiple businesses. This is my fourth business. With each business, my first stop was talking to a SCORE professional to help me with my business. So not only do I want to thank you for the opportunity to present today and share a little bit of knowledge on how you can leverage LinkedIn to gain leads, but also to thank SCORE for everything that they do. So today, just to give you a little bit of background about me, as David said, I'm the owner of Master It Media. I elevate brands by designing engaging social media presence. Now, I've been in IT for over 35 years. And one thing that I have to tell you is the only thing that's consistent with technology is that it is changing. And social media is a way that we can leverage um, our outreach to those people who are in desperate need of our services. So as a fellow business owner and entrepreneur and professional, I want to tell you, I've been there. I've struggled with my own social media. That's why I started to make it my mission to help other business owners so that they can build that audience of raving fans. So on today's agenda, I'm going to talk about what an all-star rating is with LinkedIn. I'm going to give you my 3 C's of LinkedIn success. I'm going to share with you a secret that's going to get you so much engagement, you'll be thrilled. And then at the end, I also have a free gift for you. So let's talk about LinkedIn's all-star rating. Why is it so important? Well, it's important because it's going to improve your discoverability. So it increases, if you have this all-star rating, you get improved discoverability. You get increased profile search appearances, right? You get 3 times more profile traffic. And the reason is when you set up your profile on LinkedIn, this is now we're talking about your personal profile on LinkedIn, with all of the things that LinkedIn wants you to have so that people can find you better, right? They're trying to help you get more followers, get more activity, because when you get more activity and you get more followers and you have more engagement, it helps them as well, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. So this is in your dashboard. If you go to your LinkedIn profile and you look for your dashboard, then now this is private to you. This is not something that somebody else sees, but if you have an all-star rating, you should see something like this little all-star on the side. If you don't, it's going to give you a gauge and it's going to tell you how many steps. Like they want you to fill it out and fill it out completely, your profile. So when you've got the profile not completely filled out, they're going to say something like, oh, here, add your headline, put in your contact information, right? They're going to help you do that by putting in little notes and links, and like these boxes are here, they would just contain different information. So I encourage you, when we get off today, off of the seminar, to go into your LinkedIn profile and check to see where you are with this all-star rating. Now, here's some key components that you want to have in your all-star rating. Now, here's an example of mine. My header is set up with a background image, and you can see that here, right? It's got my logo. It's got, in the background, you can kind of say, oh yeah, that's stuff I see on social media, right? And right in big letters, social media management. I've got my mission statement. I have other places that I want people to engage with me on. Now you could have pictures of you could have, but it should be something that shows you and who you are and what your business is, so that at a quick glance, somebody has a great feel for who you are and what your business is as well. Now, you want to have your name. Now, some people, if they have a different, maybe a maiden name or a different name they may be known by, they can put that in here. You can also, there's a new setting now where you can put in pronouns. So if that's important to you, you can do she, her, he, his, they, them, things like that. So people can refer to you with the right pronoun. In addition, and we're going to talk more in depth about this, but you want to have a professional looking photo for your profile photo. We also want to have an attention grabbing headline. Now, by the headline, I mean this here where you're seeing social media strategists, elevating brands, and so on. Now, this is important for something I'm going to share a little later, but you want to have the keywords in here. Notice I have social media twice, because it's that important when somebody's looking for me, right? I share that I'm a speaker, a business, a consultant. I host a live Master at Monday, every Monday at 2, right? I want to make sure people know where I am. In addition to that, I have my links here, my website, my company website, my LinkedIn business page is here. You are in the background, you want to put in your phone number, your website, your other social medias, right? You beef this up so much that it makes it easy for people to find you. And notice that it says 500 plus connections. If you don't have 500 plus connections, you want to get there, because again, that's going to help you and your discoverability on LinkedIn. And that's kind of our first step, right? It's that brand awareness, get to be known. And I'll share some tips with that about that later on and how you can do that. So let's take a look at these 3 photos that we have. When you look at them, they're all pretty nice. I mean, she's smiling, she's got, she was personable, she looks very happy, like they're great photos. But when you're looking at LinkedIn, you have to remember this is a business platform. So immediately we cross out the first one. We don't want a photo of us with in a casual manner. We want a business professional, what we would normally wear to work. Having a nice solid background like the second picture is great as well. Right now, it's not distraction. The focus is going to be on the person. But with LinkedIn, what you want to do is focus more on your face. You want to zoom in more so that they see you, because that's what's important in this profile photo. So this is the best photo out of those 3 for her to use. You could even zoom in closer. But when you pick a photo, make sure it looks like you. You don't want to have something that, a photo you took 25 years ago, because let's be honest, although we'd all like to look like we looked like 25 years ago, it's not what we look like now. So get those current photos done. Use a high resolution image, pretty easy. You can even have somebody take a picture of you with your phone. You can do that. You don't have to, hire a photographer. I did, because I wanted to make sure that my photo was not just of good quality, but I wanted to use them for multiple things besides my profile photo for LinkedIn. But in addition, I want it to be branded. So my photo has, my brand, not just the color, but part of my whole method is about being, this power of purple, right? So these are things you want your brand to reflect in your profile picture. Do get somebody else to take your picture. Don't take a selfie like we had shared with this one. It doesn't look very professional when you do that, and you want to exude that professionalism. And have the right expression. The expression, again, think of your brand. Is it on brand, or are smiling and being happy, is that on brand? Or are you more serious and you want to convey more authority and, have a more stern look on your face? Whatever fits your brand is the expression that is the right expression for your profile photo. Avoid those distracting backgrounds. Although it's beautiful to see a beach in the background, this is not the place for that, unless you're, again, and here's where it comes down to what you do in your business, right? Wear something that you would wear to work. So if you're someone who is in the health and wellness field and you're a personal trainer, well, maybe you at the gym is a great profile shot. But I personally love a solid background because it takes away the distractions that could be back there. And the last one, and this is where this photo beat out the second photo, make sure your face takes up about 60% of, or at least 60% of the frame. So you want to have it a little bit bigger. With this particular photo, she's got long hair. She's got her hand up. If I cut it, it wouldn't look the best. So 60% of the frame is a good place to start. Now, let's talk about our summary. This is our like our about us section in our profile. This is where you are talking about who you are. Now, the challenge with talking about who you are is that people don't really care. I hate to say this, but people don't care about you. They care about them and what you can do for them, right? So make your summary client focused. You want to talk in the first person. You want that first sentence to count because that's the first thing they're going to see. They only see a couple of sentences. I got great advice from a content writer. And he said to me, Maggie, the first thing you want to do is to make sure that they read the second sentence. And when you get them to read the second sentence, your next should be read the third sentence, right? So whenever you're writing something, you want to have keywords that are engaging that audience. Talk about who you are, and but in a manner that explains how you help the people you support. Now, you can showcase your work. You can put in articles, photos, video, and you should have a clear call to actions. You know, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to message you? Do you want them to go to your website? Do you want them to sign up for your free takeaway? What is it that you want in this summary? Now, your work education experience, this is your digital resume. And keep in mind, in LinkedIn, somebody can go to your profile and they can print out your profile in a resume format. So you want this to really shine. Now, one of the things that I strongly recommend is you have a company page. I'll go into detail on that in the next slide. You want to have things that people will connect with you on, like the schools you went to, your experience, places you've worked for. Don't forget about your volunteer work. The things that you do, it shows a little bit of who you are, and people may say, oh, Maggie, you do theater? I do theater too. Or, oh my gosh, I love theater. Oh, wow, that's interesting, right? Something that's going to personalize yourself. And of course, your education, where you went to school, is great because that could be a connecting factor between you and other people that you attended schools with. And of course, there's something in there where you can edit your public profile, where you can make things like maybe you only want your public profile to show your photo, your name, your business, but you don't want it to show your contact information. In this section, in your profile, you can quantify what you want to share. Another cool thing is you can create your own vanity URL. So it could be, you know, linkedin.com, and instead of it being Maggie-Carey-92543, I can have it be Maggie Carey as long as that name is not taken. So having a vanity URL is nice for you to have so that you can share that with people easily. Now, the company page, this is something that I really recommend you create. And it comes up when somebody says to me, well, I'm a franchise owner, or I'm a coach. I don't really, I am my brand. I am my company page. I get that. But when you create a company page, you're securing your brand so that nobody else can pretend to be you, or somebody else can find what they think is you on LinkedIn. It also allows you, when you put in your experience and you put in the fact that this is the company you work for, whatever your profile photo is on that company page is going to show up. If you don't have it, it just shows up with a couple of gray boxes and it doesn't look professional. So creating a company page is as simple as clicking on the work button in the upper right corner and selecting create company page. And then what it does is it basically walks you through and helps you do it very easily. I could give you instructions on how to do that, but I will tell you, it's like technology changes follow what they tell you to do. They make it very easy to do that. When you create a company page, what you're basically doing is you're giving your company a home base to reach your audience on LinkedIn. Now, skills and endorsements. Think about this. How many skills do you have? And somebody will say, well, I do, they'll maybe 5 to 10 different skills. You have so much more. Are you a public speaker? Do you know Excel? Do you know PowerPoint? Like all of these silly little things that we just do, right, are skill sets. And if you have an opportunity to place 50 skills in LinkedIn, which we do, use them. And this endorsement basically allows people who have seen your skill in action, and they can endorse you and they can say, oh, yes, she is skilled at, social media. And the beauty of these skills and endorsements is when you post these endorsements, you can, when you post these skills, you can also pin certain ones to the top so that people see what you feel are your top 3 skills. And in order to get an endorsement, and an endorsement is not a recommendation. I just want to make that distinction. An endorsement is basically somebody giving you a thumbs up on your skill set, whatever that skill is. So to get endorsements, the easiest way I found is to give an endorsement. So I'll go and I'll give an endorsement to someone. They'll pop back. They'll get a message from LinkedIn that says, hey, Maggie's endorsed you on this skill. And usually it's that, law of reciprocation, right? Or rule of reciprocation, where people will say, oh, well, Maggie endorsed me. Let me go endorse her because that was really nice of her, right? And keep in mind that the number of endorsements that you get displays. So obviously, right, the more endorsements you get, the more social proof you have, and the more people will feel, oh, wow, you really do know this, right? Now, recommendations are what I like to say your social proof, okay? This is sort of like LinkedIn's answer to a review, but above all the other things that other social platforms allow for reviews, LinkedIn actually does some things that others don't. Now, you can ask for a recommendation. You can recommend others. And I love recommending others because when I recommend somebody else, again, that reciprocation, they may come to my site and my LinkedIn page and recommend me. But my name, my photo, and the first few, the entire headline of my LinkedIn profile is going to show up in that recommendation section. So I'm basically cross-promoting myself. I'm giving the person a recommendation so they're pleased, and I may gain a new follower out of it or a new connection. So recommending others is great. You can, this social proof, like, people are afraid to use people that don't have recommendations or reviews because they don't know, right? It's like when you hire somebody to work for your business, right? You want to check out their references. You want to make sure they say who they are. You want to make sure they're good at what they do. And this is where recommendations come into play. Here's the real interesting thing about recommendations on LinkedIn. You have the ability to accept, request a modification, or decline the recommendation. So if you've ever gotten spammed in your, maybe somebody left you a review, thought you were the wrong person and left you a review on Google, you really don't have a leg to stand on sometimes to reply to that. In LinkedIn, you do. You can reject or decline. So maybe somebody left you, a review and you don't know them, they didn't do business with you. It could be a spammer. You can just decline it. If somebody said, maybe they come in and, take my business, for example, Master It Media. Maybe they went in and they just said Master Media, not Master It. They forgot the it. I can ask them for a request and say, thank you so much for leaving me such a great recommendation. However, I noticed that it was missing. Would you mind just modifying that and letting me know? And then publish to your heart's content, right? Then you can accept the modification. So asking and leaving recommendations is something that I strongly recommend that you do. So let's just take all these elements of that all-star profile that we've talked about, right? You've got your summary, you have 2,000 characters, use them wisely, use those keywords and keep them client focused, okay? Your experience and education is your digital resume. Make sure you get those skills and endorsements in there, give and ask for recommendations, endorsements, and for recommendations, it's like a review, but it's so much better and they're so powerful. So the key in all of this is to have a completely filled out profile. And that's the goal. That's what LinkedIn wants to see. So our next section that I'm going to be talking about is taking that amazing profile that you just created and now go to the next steps. I strongly recommend before you proceed to these steps that you completely fill out your LinkedIn profile and get that all-star rating. That these 3 C's are ways how you can take your LinkedIn profile and who you are and take it to that next level and create such an amazing engagement with people that they are going to want to connect with you, to find out more, to follow you, and to be that engaged person that takes us out of the technical world and puts us into the worlds of connecting with other people. So the first C is to connect, right? Connect with your people. And that doesn't necessarily mean your ideal clients. The first thing people you should connect to are the people you know, the people that you know well. Connect with them on LinkedIn. And there's a little connect button. You can search for them. There's a connect button and you can connect. I always suggest write a note with that connection request so that they know who you are. You can connect with people who are local, especially if you have a local business. If you have a local business, you want to connect with other local business professionals. And there's a way you can search by town, by state. So you can do those searches and find people who are in your same town. Prospective clients, of course, we want to connect with them. But here's another one. Think about the people who have your ideal client as their ideal client. So for example, I'm a social media strategist. I help businesses who are struggling with their social media, but they're small to medium-sized businesses. Well, what's a great connection for me? A business coach would be a great connection for me. SCORE would be a great connection for me. So any of the SCORE reps, I would want to get on that call, right? Like you could search David on LinkedIn and connect with him, right? These are the things that you want to do when you're looking at establishing those 500 plus connections that you should have in order to boost your engagement, right? Another thing is industry leaders. When you follow an industry leader in your field, what you're showing is that you are keeping your finger on the pulse of the trends that are going on. It also helps you be on their radar so they know you're there. So all of this connecting to your people is what's right for you and who's right for you. If you're part of a networking group, I found that to be amazing for me because that's given me a lot of engagement and a lot of connections. Now, when you send a connection request, I suggest that you leave a note if you can. You don't want to just say connect, 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 and they don't know who you are, why they should bother connecting with you, right? When you have your profile completed with your photo, I hesitate to connect with somebody who doesn't have a photo or a completely filled out LinkedIn profile because I'm not sure if they're who they say they are, right? So if I'm sending a request, I want to make sure that people know who I am, right? Or how we met. It also helps me later on if we connect and talk later. So I do something like the top left for people I know. It was great to meet you at the last September 14th. Matt, it's got some spelling errors here, but hopefully they don't mind. At Master Networks, Wappinger Falls. Look forward to connecting at another Master Networks meeting in the future and here on LinkedIn, right? Warm regards, whatever your signature is, always leave your name. You can personalize this and say, hi, Dave, it's nice to meet you. It was great meeting you. You can personalize these. For people I don't know, I go into their profile. They may be somebody I want to connect with. Maybe I saw them comment on somebody's post and I was like, wow, that was really insightful. I want to get to know this person. I would send something like this. We've never officially met, but I've been using LinkedIn to find solid connections to learn from. And I was impressed with your background. And I can get into more detail with this. Like, I noticed you commented on Sue's post about, how coaching has helped her grow her business. And I was wondering, ask a question to kind of inspire them to not only connect with you, but reply back to you. So you want to build those strong connections. You've got to communicate with people, right? And that brings us to commenting, right? When you comment on somebody's post, what you're doing is you're basically cross promoting yourself. Now there are different ways you can engage. So if you see somebody's post, you can go in and you can do any of these little celebrate, support, love. You can do that, and that's okay. And you might have the opportunity of your name might be first when they'll show right next to the little emojis there. But when you comment on somebody's post, when you leave a comment, what you're going to be doing is your profile photo, your name, and the first 60 characters of your headline are going to show up under this person's post. So you're basically cross promoting yourself. The person who's commenting on your post is like, wow, I don't care. I'm just glad you posted because that increases my engagement, which is going to make that post show up more on other people's feeds. So when you do that, though, the comment should have value. Don't just leave an emoji or something like that. Show your value, show your intelligence by leaving valuable insight. So for example, here, somebody posted a really great video, right? And this person was a realtor. So what I'm doing here, you can see this is a comment that I had left. It shows my name. I selected my pronouns, right? It gives the first 60 characters of my headline, which includes social media strategist, right? I'm tagging her. This is you can hit the @ and start typing her name, and the name will show up so that she gets notified that I posted a comment. I say she's making you make some great points. You're so right. Digital marketing and geofencing is a full-time job, right? I'm basically saying, yes, this is true. I've been there. I've experienced this. I know what you're talking about. And hiring a trusted advisor is a great idea. Well, guess who that trusted advisor is, people? It's me. I'm the trusted advisor that I'm hoping that they'll say, wow, Maggie posted something. Oh, she's a social media strategist. Let's click on her name and see who she is, and hopefully they'll follow it. Now, I can also, if you see down here, it's encouraging me to lead the conversation by turning your comment into a post. I can share this post right here and put it on my profile page so that people on my feed, so that people can see that. Now, communicate. This is our, our last C, okay? A lot of times I see businesses will, when they post on social media, they throw out all this content and that's all they do. And look, we need to be active on social media. You need to post, right? People need to find you. But when you communicate with people, when you go in and take some of these things like share a birthday, celebrate a birthday, happy birthday, or happy anniversary for your job, or you've got a new job, congratulations. Like you do all these things, you're adding that personal touch, right? Because that happens all in the private messaging. Now that private messaging is where you can really get more personal. Sometimes people don't want to leave too much in a main feed. So what they'll do is, they'll be more open with you in a private chat. So remember, when you're communicating, it's not a one-way street, right? It's two ways. Ask a question. Give them the opportunity to tell you more about them so that you can find out more about them. This will improve your relationship with them. It improves the ability for you to send them referrals. It improves, hopefully they'll reply back and say, oh, yeah, I do this. And, I grew up here and I love to do this. And what do you like to do? What are your favorite things? What is your business? What things have you found helpful? So you're creating a nice conversation that happens in the private messaging that you wouldn't necessarily do in your main feed. But keep that conversation going. The worst thing you can do is, once you connect with somebody, is to pitch them in the second message or the first message. I've had that happen where I've connected, somebody asked for a connection request, I've accepted it, and then they've pitched to me. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Like, that's just, it's not the way we want to come across in your feed. If you want to gain trusted contacts who know, like, and trust you, the way to do that is to engage in a conversational manner. Then talk about that, like ask them leading questions like, hey, how, I'm a social media strategist. I do, this is what I do. What do you do? Well, I do this. It's like, what's your favorite social media platform? They're going to come back to me and say, well, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great. And I come back and I say, oh, LinkedIn is great for business to business. I really believe in that. So how are you using LinkedIn in your business? Now, as you see, what I'm doing is I'm really genuinely interested in what they're doing and what they're doing with LinkedIn, but I'm also leading them into understanding what their needs are so that I can see if my products might be a good fit for them. This is a way you build that connection because you want to make sure that you're communicating effectively. Now, this is my secret. The secret to killing it on LinkedIn is to be authentic. Don't be something you think people want you to be. There are going to be people who are going, like in real life, there are going to be people who are going to like you. There are people who are not going to like you. There are people who are going to need your services and want to work with you. And there are people who are not going to need your services and they're not going to work with you. And here is a way to draw your ideal client to you. When you're your amazing, authentic self, you will make those connections to the people who are going to become your raving fans, who are going to follow you and support you and post on your feed and leave you recommendations and do all of these things that you're going to be doing, they're going to do for you. So these are really critical things that people tend to be afraid of, being their authentic self. They think they have to be something that it isn't really true to themselves. So remember, social media platforms are meant to be social. So when you're on this platform, imagine these people are sitting in the room with you or standing in the room with you and you're talking to them. turn that social media platform into a social platform. Forget about the media, right? It's all about communicating with that other person and developing that strong relationship on LinkedIn. And look, LinkedIn, if you're a B2B, LinkedIn is a place where you should strongly consider spending time on building your profile. But if you're a B2C, a business to customer, this is still, because remember, business professionals can be your customers too. So don't discount LinkedIn. It is a very powerful, and it's older than Facebook. It is the oldest, currently active platform that's out there. And they've changed and they've migrated and they've moved to different things and they try different things. So it's here for you to use and to nail it on your social on LinkedIn. Now, I mentioned that I was going to give you a gift, and what I have is a LinkedIn profile guide. If you scan this QR code, or if you go to painlessposting.com/LinkedIn guide 2022, you will get a booklet that will help you nail your LinkedIn profile so that you don't have to worry about trying to do this all on your own. I give you some tips and advice. I know SCORE is going to be sending you this presentation as well, but this LinkedIn guide goes in a little bit deeper into the specifics and helps you outline your LinkedIn profile to gain that exposure. And of course, please connect with me on all the socials. I'm at Master It Media. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, of course, on LinkedIn. I've got I go live every Monday at 2:00 on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, where I share tips and tricks on how to get the most out of various social media platforms. You can go over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Master It Media. And there I have I have over 175 videos of different tips and tricks on how to make the most out of your social media and learn. Some are very micro topicked and some are larger. So definitely pop on over, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love the connection, and just use what we learned today. You go to me, Maggie Carey, on LinkedIn, and send me a message and say, hey, we met at the SCORE Westchester Leverage LinkedIn workshop. This would be great. So I love connecting with people who attend my seminars. And I guess, David, now's our time for Q&A.
Yep. Thank you, Maggie. That was really terrific. And we have a number of questions already, and I'll read them to you, and everyone else, keep posing questions, but remember, through Q&A, not chat. Okay, the first one, I think you may have covered this, but how do I create a link to go to my website?
So that's a great question. So when you look at your profile up on the top, remember that photo I showed of my LinkedIn profile, you're going to see a little pencil icon on the right-hand side. When you click on that, you're going to see the headline of your LinkedIn profile, and in there you can put in if there's a space to leave your website. And that brings up a great point too. Your website should have a place where you're providing links to your LinkedIn as well, like to all your socials and back. So you get that back and forth, LinkedIn to your website to LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Great. Just a quick, this is from an audience member. Thank you, Maggie, for paying it forward. I found a lot of value from SCORE, and I'm so glad you did too. And you are now giving back. More power to you.
Thank you.
Next question. Is it wise to have a business page? I read from past articles that LinkedIn business pages are not very effective. I know that you talked about that, but that goes a little bit further.
I did. And I will tell you, they may not be effective, but I strongly recommend that you create them. As I mentioned, with your profile, if you don't have a business page, it's going to show up as the icon will show up as just this random box of blocks or something. And it's like a gray, it's supposed to be buildings, but it doesn't look like buildings. So when you create a page, you're also, and it's it takes 10 minutes to do. You get your logo will show up. It'll look more professional. Some people will post on their business page and then share it to their personal. Some people post on their business and personal together. Some people like to just have their business page housed. But it's a way for people, if they don't remember your name, they may remember your business. So having both helps you.
Great. Okay, a follow-up on that. How did you grow your following? I've tried LinkedIn groups and they are not my thing, but I want to have better connections. And what worked best for you?
So what works best for me is whenever I attend an event, I follow up on LinkedIn, right? I take all those business cards, or if I'm in a Zoom with chats and people leave their contact information, I reach out to them and I say, hey, we met at such and such a place. Like turning those personal connections into a digital connection is great. The other thing I've done is build locally. So I put in my town or my state or my area, like you can go into Westchester and make connections locally. But I blend all of my lives, like my personal, my business, my networking, all of these things together have helped me grow. Now, there are people who have far more followers than I do on LinkedIn. There's one gentleman that I'm in a networking group who has tens of thousands of followers. I don't know how he keeps track of all these people, but that being said, aim for that 500 plus of those people that like those steps that I showed you, the people the people who, if you're local, I'm sort of belaboring the point, but that's kind of where I would go.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next one, how do you highlight having an eclectic background, which is what makes your brand unique? I leverage my varied experiences to help my clients get results.
So what, I know it sounds a little, with the eclectic background, like you are going to stand out on LinkedIn, right? So having your profile picture reflect that uniqueness, having that banner, the header that sits in the back, right? That has to, the words you use, right? Like I'm more formal, like social media strategist, blah, 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 right? Yours may be more like, get out of your own way. It could be more casual and funky and cool and laid back, right? Take how you speak and put it in all of your components. And that's what's going to highlight you and your brand, and how it is unique.
And I guess, is it also using the 50 skills?
Well, the 50 skills will help, but it's more, I don't know if this attendee wants to put in more details. I was assuming they were talking about their brand's uniqueness. The skills help, but and look, there's tons of skills you can put in there. So you could that's definitely a possibility, David, right, for sure.
Okay, great, thanks. Next, what happens if you work with different audience segments within your business? How can you make your page appeal to each of their unique needs?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say one school of thought is to work on in blocks. Like say, okay, I'm going to work with this audience segment for this month. And then I'm going to work with this audience segment for next month. But you may alienate followers by doing that. You could mix up the content, which then will keep the people who are interested engaged in each different one. That's a tough question. I would say you're going to have to somehow address the one at a time in each of the posts that you do, but provide valuable information. And people are going to realize that you do have different audiences. The business pages will also help with that, because if you have different segments, like I have people who are do MLMs, and they have different MLMs that they're a part of. So they have different business pages, and their personal profile joins the two of them together. I hope that helps, Lisa.
Right. That's great. Okay. How do you professionally, you mentioned this in passing, how do you professionally sidestep people, strangers who connect and immediately try and pitch or sell you something? Do you pursue the relationship or not engage?
It depends. I check out their social. It may be somebody new that may not know, right, what to do. Sometimes I'll send them I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, before we get into, our business and stuff, maybe we should get to know each other a little bit better. Or, you know what? I have a great suggestion. Have you ever heard of SCORE? Or have you ever heard of Master Networks? It's a great networking group. Those organizations that help people with networking and getting to work their business will kind of give them an idea of, like, maybe they just don't know. So I look at their profile, I see what they do. I see if they do this consistently, and then I decide. You can just ignore them. You can, disconnect from them. It really is, you have to see how annoying they really were, and if you really want to help them, if they would be open to even looking at selling a different way.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, here's one. Is there another way to get the guide? My phone does not want to scan for some reason.
Sure. So I can put that in, I think I can put that in the chat. Let me just, I'll do that while we're taking the next question.
Okay. Okay, can you go back to the survey?
What survey?
Is that, I think maybe that's the guide.
Okay.
I think that may be the same question.
All right. Let me see. I hope this works. I hope I had that right. Let me go back and pull that up.
That link works, Maggie.
It does. Thank you
goes
for
to your
letting me
form.
know. Perfect. All right. Hopefully that answers that's the
Yeah.
survey they were talking about. Do you want me to
Great.
leave that up for a minute?
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, next question. Can I use recommendations that aren't from LinkedIn?
So Susan, I'm assuming what you're asking is, can you put recommendations and paste them into LinkedIn? You cannot. They have to come organically from the other person. What I have done, which is a really great bonus tip here, is say somebody leaves you a review on Google Business. I can send a message to them on LinkedIn or an email and say to them, hey, Susan, you left me a really wonderful review on Google. I'm trying to build my recommendations on LinkedIn. Here's a link to my LinkedIn profile. Would you mind just copying and pasting your your Google review on my LinkedIn page? And by the way, here's the review that you left me, if just for your convenience, right? You've made it so easy for them that all they have to do is copy the information they already wrote on Google and click on your link and then paste it. So that's a way to kind of use that.
And that also gives them exposure on LinkedIn.
Correct.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, here, this is interesting. How important is it to put dates on your education? Not sure how relevant if you're doing something different, but rather not have people doing the math to figure out how old you are.
Yeah, I totally can relate to that, Jennifer. I'm one of those people, like, I'm like, look, it is what it is. That's how old I am. Get over it. I'm not a 25-year-old doing social media, but I've got 35 years experience in IT. They can do the math, right? So I would say it's not really important. The nice thing about putting the dates on there is if somebody went to your college or your high school around the same time, they may know you. I don't feel pressured into doing, with everything that I've said, and this is a great point that kind of leads into it. Don't feel pressured to share things that you're not comfortable sharing. So I would say, don't worry about it. If you don't want to put the dates in, don't put the dates.
Good. I have an analytics box, but I don't see a dashboard. Where do I find it?
Okay, so that that's an interesting question. The dashboard should be right under your header, so where it had, your profile picture and the background photo, and then your description should be right under there. If it's not, you probably have an all-star profile rating, and that's why you're not seeing the dashboard. And again, like LinkedIn changes all the times. So it may be something that's a little bit different. What you can do, LinkedIn has a help function, and you can go into the help function and you can put in something like, how do I find my dashboard? Or where is my all-star rating? And see if it gives you the updated link if there's something different. But I have seen the dashboard disappear if you already have an all-star rating.
Okay, great. How do you maintain connections when you have a lot of LinkedIn connections?
I'll use those special days, like the anniversaries, the birthdays, the things like that. And I don't just say happy birthday. I say, oh my gosh, it's your birthday. Are you doing anything special? We haven't talked in a year. What's going on with the business, right? That kind of gives you that moment to share a little bit. I also look at their activity and see what they're doing online, and then use that as a way to communicate. Like if I see somebody who's, posting something that I find really interesting, I'll use that as a lead in.
And then actually related, how much time do you recommend working on social media versus working on our businesses?
That's why
they are the same. But how do you fit it in?
So that's why I have a job. This is the thing. Let's just talk LinkedIn today. My suggestion is engagement on LinkedIn, like being in there, doing all those comments and things like that. Spend 15 minutes a day if you can block out the time. Creating social media, it's about content, right? You don't want to be posting something just for the sake of posting it. You want that content to be rich and engaging. So if that means it's once a week, then it's once a week. My rule of thumb to tell people who ask me this question all the time is you should be posting at least 3 to 5 times a week in order to gain a decent following and a rep. You don't want to leave months or weeks apart because people tend to not find you when you only post like once a week. But better to post once a week than not at all. I suggest blocking out time where you work on your social at once. I have that's why I created Painless Posting, because it makes, we do 90% of the content for you. It's a way of making it easier for people to do their content. That being said, if you block out, let's say 2 to 3 hours a week to work on your social media, block that time. Don't do a post and then go on to something else and do another post. When you're in the zone, I find people much more effective when they work in a block of time with their social and have a tool. The tools I've, if you sign up for the guide, I also have a another workshop I'm teaching this week. Social Media Day is June 30th. So I have to have a presentation that day. And I share tools that I use for my businesses, and that might help. I hope that helps answer the question, but 2 to 3 hours a week, block it out, create your posts as much as you can.
Okay, that's great. Okay, in Google, people want to be on the first page. I don't think there's anything like that on LinkedIn. But how do you come up fast on search if there are, many people with your name or something?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. So it's the people, you'll come up sooner for people who search and have connections that you're connected to. So when we talk LinkedIn, a first connection is somebody that you're directly connected to. A second connection would be somebody that you know somebody else that's connected to the same person. So you each know somebody else. You're a second level connection, right? So you'll show up more there. Because you have a unique name, that also helps. But it can also hurt because sometimes people spell it the wrong way, right? Like it is what it is sometimes with social. So first page on Google, definitely it's a totally different animal than LinkedIn. So it's more about who you know on LinkedIn. So the more connections you have, the better chance you'll be a second connection for somebody else, the better chance you'll have of showing up on the top.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is it for the questions, and we're right at the end. This is really great, and I know everyone learned a lot from you, and thank you again. I think we'll leave it there. As a reminder, you'll all be receiving a link to the recording and the slides. Now, please join me in thanking our presenter, Maggie Carey. Also the Small Business Administration for its support of SCORE. And I thank all of you for participating. I look forward to seeing you at future webinars, and have a glorious 4th. We hereby adjourn. Thank you all.